On today's episode of Home Media Minefield, I'm going to be reviewing the 4K UHD version of E.T., Steven Spielberg's 1982 classic, coming up. Hello, I'm Keith and welcome to Home Media Minefield, helping you with information to navigate the complexities of home cinema and home media entertainment. And for today's episode, I am indeed reviewing the 4K UHD release of an excellent film, E.T., one that I grew up with as a child. Very happy to talk about this release. I've previously done an unboxing. The version I've just shown here is the Steelbook edition, but for the unboxing I did show the big sleeve edition of this. There are various packages and versions available, and I will put links in the show notes below of where to find them. Now, if physical media is your kind of bag, then please do hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. But for now, let's get into it. Right, the first thing to point out with all of these packages is that the 4K and Blu-ray versions of the film available are the original theatrical versions. In 2002, for the 20th anniversary, Steven Spielberg did release a version with enhanced visual effects using CG elements, a couple of restored scenes, and some minor changes to the film. Now, that was available when the film was subsequently released on DVD, but over the years, Spielberg's opinion of this has changed. So, in terms of HD, he has only released this as the theatrical version. Even though I obviously prefer the theatrical version, I do think it would have been nice if we'd had an option on this to play either or and it branch into the different ones. But hey, I'm really satisfied with what we got here. So first up, looking at the picture quality of this. This has been fully remastered for 4K. And looks absolutely stunning. As you'd probably expect, you can see film grain in a few places here, and some of the visual effects for the BMXs flying in the daytime scenes maybe don't really hold up that great now, but for the most part this still completely works and looks fabulous. The detail on the E.T. animatronic itself is incredible. You can literally see pores of the skin amongst the wrinkles, etc. on this, and it doesn't in any way look fake. The other thing that this 4K version really benefits from is the high dynamic range, because in this film Spielberg does like to play quite heavily with contrast, and we have scenes that take place at night and scenes in the bright daytime, and the difference in range between these works very well on this release. So I would say definitely worth the upgrade, even if you can see matte lines around the edges of the odd visual effect here and there. Now onto the audio. This also gets a DTS-X mix of the soundtrack. Unfortunately, at the time we're recording this, I don't have a DTS-X system to play this back on, but from what I could hear, the audio was fantastic. Not massive amounts of separation, but audio is crisp and clear. Sound effects work fantastically, and John Williams' score, as ever, sounds absolutely incredible. Now onto the special features side, and although for this new 4K release there aren't any new special features as such, it does include all of the special features from both the 20th and the 30th anniversary releases. Now first up, you get the deleted scenes from this film, and this includes the bathroom scene, which I'm assuming is the CG enhanced scene from the 20th anniversary edition, and you get the post-Halloween scene that had been restored for the 20th anniversary edition. So even though you don't get that version of the film on this, those scenes are included as deleted scenes. Next up, you get a 12-minute featurette that was recorded in 2012 called E.T. and Spielberg. Spielberg, who is always entertaining to be interviewed, enthuses about how this is his most personal film in many respects, how he tried to create a Norman Rockwell suburbia, and how ideas from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, along with his parents' divorce, added to the themes in this story. He discusses about the importance of the movie being about the kids and how they were the primary focus of the story and the way that he shot it, and how he thinks of it as a family film, not a sci-fi film. He's also asked about why a sequel was never made, and he said if he could have come up with a compelling reason to make a sequel for this, he would have absolutely done it, but basically that reason never ever presented itself, and well, I for one am glad it's a standalone. Next up, you get a 1981 featurette that is divided into 3 sections called the E.T. Journals. Now there is a play or function on this, and when you do so, this comes to about 55 minutes. What is absolutely great about this is this was shot on 16mm at the time by John Toll, and literally covers behind the scenes of E.T. So you actually get to see Steven Spielberg working with the cast and crew, and is really actually quite inspiring. Spielberg reveals, which I won't ruin, why he wears sunglasses on set. You get to see some of the behind the scenes working of E.T. And you even get an amusing bit where at Halloween Spielberg turns up on set dressed as an old bag lady. This also features some footage of Spielberg meeting with John Williams and showing him the film on a moviola while they start to talk about and compose the iconic theme for this. Then you get a 37-minute documentary called A Look Back, which was originally produced for the DVD release. Now in the interviews with Spielberg you get quite a lot of repetition that you got from the more recent interview, but they do go into some of the information about originally taking the script to Columbia after working with them on Close Encounters, and how Columbia decided to pass and go with John Carpenter's Starman instead, and how it eventually ended up at Universal. You get more on the actual designing of E.T. with Carlo Rambaldi. They talk about the nod to George Lucas with the Yoda scene, and you see some of Ralph McQuarrie designing the spaceship for this. So again, a great little featurette, even though there is some repetition in stories during the interviews, we see a bit more behind the scenes footage here and a bit more information around the design side. Then there's a 50-minute piece called The Evolution and Creation of E.T. Now this was originally on the 20th anniversary release of the film. Now here you do get some of the same behind the scenes footage, and again many of the same stories repeated. However, what is incredible about this is you actually see the Henry Thomas audition for Elliot, which is amazing, by the way. You get more discussion about E.T. itself and how Steven Spielberg didn't want something that could be a man in a suit, hence what caused the design of the very thin neck, etc. And they discuss the re-release changes and some of the CG enhancements and minor differences with the film. It's actually a bit weird that it's included on this release, because Spielberg talks about that in a very pro fashion, about how that's what he wanted the film to be and why he made those changes. But obviously that somewhat contradicts his more latter viewpoints with releasing this as the theatrical version. But for completists, those interviews are included on this. There's E.T. Reunion from 2002, which is 18 minutes of interviews featuring the main cast and crew. It has Spielberg sat with them while they're all being interviewed and telling stories. Again, these are a lot of stories that we've already heard, but it's really nice to see them all together as a group and interacting. Then you get an excellent 10-minute interview with John Williams on the music of E.T. He talks about the comparisons with the success of Star Wars, and you get to see some of the recording footage from when Spielberg actually recorded John Williams conducting the orchestra for the score session, which is really nice to see. Then you get 20 minutes of footage from the 20th anniversary premiere, which features John Williams with a live orchestra conducting and performing this with the screening of the film at the 20th anniversary release. Apparently this is the first time that's been done, and I have seen films done this way, which is actually quite incredible to go see. All of the cast and crew are at this screening as well, and it features interviews with them and is actually quite emotional. So it's really great that this footage is included on this release. And the rest of the special features comprise of photo galleries, trailers and TV spots. Again, we have pretty much everything here, and is really great to have to round off this package. So that brings me to the end of another home media minefield. I hope you found this information interesting. If you did, then please do like, subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you don't miss anything moving forward. Also, if you're interested in hearing more about E.T., I was lucky enough to guest on a live stream video cast where we discussed the film, and I'll put a link below in the show notes as to where you can find that. I'll also include links as to where you can buy this film. If you do purchase using any of the links below, it does help the channel without any additional cost to you. And if you've got any comments or feedback, then please do put it in the comments down below. I'm looking to create a community here, and if there's anything in particular, old or new, that you'd like me to do a physical media review of, then I'm happy to look into it. But in the meantime, I thank you for your time, and I'll speak to you at the next home media minefield. And remember, be good.